What is up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to Shell Being in Action. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel for all things plant healing, herbalism, life obstacles. It's hard to name everything right here, so just watch some of the other videos and then decide you want to like and subscribe to this one. But just know that the whole journey is just begun. So, it's been 6 months. Let's dive in. Shall we grab some tea for our tea time? Like I started when I had surgery. I think it's appropriate to stick with it. So I have prepared in here some organic herbal tea, and I will just quickly talk about what's gone in here because this won't be the basis of our video. But grab some tea and let's jump in. The intention is set. Today's tea, we've got just homegrown and wild harvested herbs. They're here behind me. We've got some mullein leaf, little bits of my mullein. I have my homegrown lady's mantle, homegrown lemon balm, Melissa officinalis is its Latin name. Verbascum thapsus is the Latin name of mullein. Here we have Crataegus douglasii, which is our wild harvested specific version of hawthorn leaf. This is from a local place. I like to go harvest here in Seattle, of all places. And then we have in there our actual wild harvested hawthorn. Oh, it's a double lid. Look at that. Hawthorn berry. The berry itself. Oh, full jar. Can't spill our precious berries. But I'd like to show you. Now, if you are into herbalism and you've ever gotten this herb from the store, you'll notice sometimes it has kind of like a white tinge on the outside, which is perfectly fine and normal. It's just from the drying process. But now this one I've harvested myself and dehydrated myself, and there is no white tinge. So again, why we want to go and grab whatever we can to make stuff ourselves, to keep it as fresh, local, pure, potent as possible. And we also in this tea have our homegrown anise hyssop. Tastes like licorice, but less potent. Hard to zoom into that little guy. It's just a little flower. The bees love it. And then 2 more to show you. Homegrown lemongrass. Yep, and the P&W, just a little bit in my greenhouse I got to grow. And we got the lemongrass dehydrated nicely. Such a nice smelling one. And lastly is our spearmint. Mentha spicata. Spearmint, homegrown, organic. So that's our tea. It's all of that pre-brewed so that I can sit here and sip it and talk story with you. So I hope that you're inspired to maybe even hit pause. I'm pretending you just paused. To hit pause and go get yourself some tea. Maybe you're not making it at this capacity. That's just fine. And it doesn't even have to be tea. It could just be hot water. It could be whatever it needs to be, as long as it is soothing your soul and giving you a moment to have permission to just go, ah. So you may notice I am like a completely different amount of energy than my last videos. If you have been following my channel, that's Shell Being in Action on YouTube, you'll notice I've been silent for the last 6 months. The last video, I was going to go to Iboga. And now I'd like to tell you what's all occurred in the last, 6 months since integration, basically. So, first off, Happy New Year. Happy New Now. It's now 2024. Can you believe it? Time really for this last year, it really got warped. It was slow and fast and uncomprehendable, but also magical and just powerful. Now, I'd like to remind everyone I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice in any way, shape, or form. I am a herbalist, however, with a bachelor's of science in herbalism. And on top of that, I'm actually just talking about my own life here. Basically, this is kind of like a discussion about my life and what has and has not been working for me. And I hope to be a piece of light for inspiration for others, just to see what is possible in their own lives. So with that, I had surgery 10 months ago, a few weeks shy of 10 months ago. And the last video you will see I was able to still kind of stand on my own, but I wasn't really where I'm at now. Where am I at now? Well, just as a quick recap for people that haven't seen the last videos of this journey, after my surgery, I developed complex regional pain syndrome. That was not diagnosed until about 2 months after surgery. However, it would seem that about only 12,000 Americans have this condition, and it is a painful, debilitating condition that's also deemed the suicide disease and the most painful known to mankind. So I had this for months, but I couldn't explain to anyone what I was feeling because I couldn't even comprehend it with my own mind, first off, but the amount of pain, I just couldn't even express what I was feeling. And you'll see in some of my earlier videos, I was in that point, but I didn't know what I had. And I started this journey video because I hoped it to be inspiration for just some. And as a blessing, there's actually hundreds that have been inspired. So, where am I? Well, I had been told that my leg could get amputated in the next 2 years if I didn't begin to walk again soon. That my leg was in such bad condition. It was because my mind was stuck in a pain loop cycle. I was cutting the circulation off on my leg in entirety by just sitting. So I could not stand, I could not walk. I basically couldn't even take care of myself. But yet I got creative. I started this video series. I plugged into schooling to become, well, I'll tell you about my new business I've started. But before we get there, it was a journey to begin to walk again, yet alone dealing with the fact that as soon as I was deemed disabled, my boss/manager fired me. And I worked for such a small office that there was no legal protections enforced despite it all. But here I literally was at my lowest. I was at my hardest. At the same time though, was going to Iboga. Is that a coincidence? I think not. Iboga's really been powerful for me. And at one point, I just had to convince myself to push through the pain so that I could get to Iboga, not even realizing how much Iboga was actually helping me make that decision before I even got there. So let's just kind of go over what's happened. It's been 6 months. I started to walk on a cane a couple of months after surgery. But really, the first few months, I couldn't even walk. So it went from I couldn't stand, I couldn't put pressure on my leg, I was cutting it off, I was told I was going to lose my leg, to then 4 days. 4 days after being told that, I stood for the first time in May, whereas my surgery was in March. Before then, I couldn't stand. It was a few days after I stood for the first time that I then was like trying to actually walk, and I took my first steps with excruciating pain. I learned that I wasn't truly hurting myself as much as my mind had me convinced that I was, in the amount of intense pain I was feeling. So once I learned my condition of complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS, it then gave me the power to decide that I should push through the pain, because it wasn't actually warranted pain I was feeling. It was my mind playing a trick on me. And actually my nervous system as well, not just the mind. Seems my central nervous system has a dysregulation. And well, that's from a lifetime of trauma and suppressing trauma. And we'll get to all of that. How I got my strength and courage and power to push through was music. I went to 2 concerts on crutches. One of them I could not really stand at. I had to sit on a chair with my legs still elevated. But by the second one, it was an Indubious concert. I love that amazing, strong band, and I went with the intention of sitting, but I could not stop myself. The music was just so energetically powerful. I had to get up on stage, and not on stage, but like up to the stage, and dance with crutches. Did it. End up at one point going on one crutch and then dancing with my boot on, and I'm feeling a ton of pain. All these burns and zaps. With CRPS, it's like you're being burned on the inside and like drilled with thousands of needles and like knives, and it's hard to quite explain. But I was pushing through all of that pain to dance, because I knew if I could just keep moving, I was working it out, as hard as it was. So I needed to be at some very good energy music to do it. I went to my favorite band. A friend of mine surprised me, got me the concert tickets. It was just 1 month after that I went to Iboga, and that's when the last video was. So, the strongest plant medicine of this planet has helped me immensely with my CRPS. But that's not what this whole video is about. Because while I was sitting in the unknowing of complex regional pain syndrome, but still in the pain, I decided to get creative about, well, I've gone through all of this life stuff. People have told me I'm kind of like a coach. So I actually invested into a class to become a life coach. Instead of sitting here in misery and unknowing, I made videos and then kind of took a break for the last 6 months. And that's because I've been plugging in as a life coach. I've been learning life coaching as a whole, which has helped me refine what I was already doing in life. And on top of that, learn how to build the business of it. So I created a website. I own my own domain name. I am Self Heal Coaching, Website is selfhealcoaching.live. I can put it in the comments. But I'm actually working again full-time as a commercial insurance account manager at a local brokerage. So I'm appointed with like 50-something companies. It's a thrill having so many things going on. But from having just 6 months ago, not having anything, and the only shining light was I was going to go to Iboga. I didn't have a job lined up because the one that I thought I had lined up before I went to Iboga, well, they pulled an illegal maneuver behind my back, and although they had hired me, then rehired someone behind me because they found someone to work in office, and at that timing, I was still needing to elevate my leg until I had done Iboga. So I landed my best, on paper, paying career. I'm busy. I work as a herbalist, as a life coach, as an insurance account broker, and blogger, vlogger, video, blogger, whatever we call these guys. I'm new to this world, but all I know is I am called to share with what I have learned. So you'll see some books back here. You might wonder how the heck I can go into the wild and know what I'm harvesting. Well, I took a program, got the Bachelor's of Science, don't mean to keep saying it, but then I took wild harvesting as well. Now, you can do the wild harvesting bit yourself by going to quite a few different resources, of course, to verify. But for starts, like looking for your local field guide. In the Pacific Northwest, I'm using the POJAR. I also took classes. So don't just jump into this willy-nilly with truly no understanding of the plants, because there are a lot of lookalikes. There can be toxic ones that look just like the medicine that isn't toxic. Truly. But I hope to inspire you to want to go out and realize, whoa, there's medicine in the wild. And remember that medicine came from plants before it came from a lab. And to this date, it's still 30% of pharmaceuticals that are made from plants. So go do your own research and find the original medicines. And that's why Iboga for me. As an herbalist, I had been prescribed, I won't say what pharmaceutical, but you can figure it out by what I've replaced it with. I was prescribed a zombifying pharmaceutical that they want me on the rest of my life, and told that I need shots in my foot, and was told my leg could be amputated, and like I need chronic pain management specialists, and wacky to have believed that for just a few days. And I am so blessed to have the strong mind to remember that I can choose different. And I didn't always understand this. This is the life I've had to live to get to this level of knowing that I'm at, to be able to truly grasp that I chose a different reality. And that's why I can stand, I can walk, I can dance, I can do yoga. I started acupuncture. I did physical therapy for a bit. I do tissue scraping on my leg, massage. I'm using herbs. I take GABA, natural GABA, which is gamma-aminobutyric acid. Again, gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA. I opt to take a natural of that versus my pharmaceutical prescription. Use your imagination. Go look online. What's commonly prescribed here with the same starting name. But instead of taking my prescribed medicine, I've chosen to focus on my own inner soul and her healing. My little girl inside I'm focusing on my mind. I'm staying around good energies. I've been using the sauna. I've been able to stay in for 2.5 hours. You don't start out that way. Please work up to that. Stay hydrated. It's not for the faint of heart. On top of that, I do my acupuncture, stretching. I have a TENS unit that zaps my leg. I just also have realized I have to face my feelings in the moment, because by suppressing my feelings and putting them off for later, that's exactly how I got into this position of trapping my trauma to the point where it would then manifest into CRPS, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. So with that, I'm going to sum up. Iboga has helped me break my trauma addiction. I became such a warrior of fighting trauma and hard times that I took it on as an identity. And I didn't realize that until Iboga. By taking that on as an identity, I was consistently putting myself in traumatic experiences so I could prove myself. But by Iboga showing me that I was doing that, it's given me the strength to accept my own power, no longer question it, and stay out of the trauma mindset and lifestyle. I have, with Iboga, learned to forgive all of those who have harmed me, but I did it by forgiving myself first. For forgiving myself, for putting myself in these circumstances, thinking I could help others that don't want the help, although they may have claimed they did. It's shown me to trust myself, that I must, I quote, be you and trust that you are you. What I mean is stop getting caught up in, but to be more like this person, I should this and that and look like this and speak like this and think like this to be like this other person. But you'll never trust yourself in doing that. You must trust your own self, that you are your own self. You're unique. You're here on this planet Earth for a very specific, beautiful purpose. But by not trusting yourself as yourself, you can never trust others, truly, because you don't even know how to trust your own self. Imagine what can spiral out of your life by when you don't trust. Because if you don't trust others and you don't trust yourself, then how is your life looking? And a few more things. Iboga has given me my ability to physically drive a car. Long distances now again. It's given me the ability to walk. I don't have a cane anymore. I used to have to hike with one, and I don't have to do that anymore either. And lastly, it's shown me how to see when I'm making a choice that goes against my greater good. Do you ever do that? Do you ever consistently make choices that you know aren't going to get you what you want, but you keep making them and you don't understand why? That's the sort of stuff that I dive into as a life coach. As a life coach, having now done Iboga, having a bachelor's of science, having a background before this going into it as a Christian, having complex regional pain syndrome, but then reversing it. That's what I offer as a life coach. on top of the experience of escaping a physical abusive relationship, narcissistic, alcoholic abuse, I left it. Iboga, I really needed for that part. Life coaching, though, with Iboga is how I got there. Thank you for the update time. Thank you for watching me here and letting me experience this life with you through sharing. I bless the tea that you've chosen to drink because I trust that you're now going to choose to love yourself and your soul. Because by choosing to love yourself, it's not selfish. Because when you love yourself fully, you can then love from an overflowing cup. And you're not coming from a place of void. So through God, through teaching me how much our intentions and our mindset matter, I remind you all of your own strength, your own power, and even in your hardest of times, seek out good, positive reinforcements and don't let yourself get stuck in the trauma. Thank you for watching Shell Being in Action. And I will be posting in the comments, as I mentioned, my website for life coaching. You can also reach out to me if you want to talk herbalism. I look forward to connecting more. Aloha.